There are plenty of centuries old classic salmon flies, and probably the most well known is this one. This is an old worn specimen of a thunder and lightning. I am going to show you how I tie a modern version with a hair wing on a tube fly of this classic. I'm going to try and preserve the overall colors, but I am going to omit attack and tip and butt and all this. So if we take a quick look, it has a yellow tail, black body, gold rib, orange hackle, and something that used to be a blue hackle, and then this wing of brown mallard, which I'm going to tie with fiery brown marble fox. So let's take a look how I go about this. I have a Flexitube in the vise that I've cut to length. I start the tying thread here on the thick part of the tube, and I come back, and I want to leave a piece of tube bare to accept the hook, and then I want a fairly large tack of this Opal Mirage tinsel. So I tie that in and I wind back and double back on itself. And tie that off. And just leave a little bit of that sticking forward. We'll be covering that with dubbing anyway. The tail, instead of golden pheasant, I'll use this, which is Fluoro fiber. I have a bunch here, half the thickness of what I want, and fairly long. Come forward a little bit, then double back, tie down, and then instead of just cutting it straight, I pull it through my open scissors like that and make it a little bit tapered. For the rib, golden rib, just like the original, here I'm using Largatun mini Flatbraid, which I'll twist. It's very, very strong material and doesn't tarnish at all. The body is Salmo Supreme dub, rainbow black. This could be any dubbing really. I like the Salmo Supreme dub. I like the color mix with the flash, and I think the dubbing has a nice texture for tube flies. Just put on a little bit at a time and work your way forward. You don't have to worry too much about how it looks. I'm going to mistreat it with a piece of Velcro anyway. Keep going forward. Now right here I'm at the shoulder where the thin and the thick tube meet. And in order to negotiate that step, I actually come down on the thin tube and work my way backwards, like that. Hackle, the body hackle is orange. I use a fluorescent hackle. This is just a cheap Chinese cock hackle. Before I pull the feather off, I can always bend it over the tube to see if the length is good. That looks all right. I prepare the feather by stripping off some of the lower fibers, and I cut off, leaving just a small tack, which I tie in on the side of the tube. Then I use these long reach hackle pliers, grab the feather, one full turn at the front, and then I come back. Let's see, that's two, that will be 2.5 turns. just about. Now, with a bit of finger dexterity, I twist up this rib, trap the hackle, and then I spiral forwards, catching the hackle with the rib. And then as you reach the front, just wiggle through, come over with a single turn, one more, and then fold back a few more turns. And that is never going to go anywhere. I cut off the remaining hackle tip. I leave a little bit to add a little bit more durability. Now, you know how they say that a well-fished fly that's looking a bit ragged is always better than a fresh one? I think that's true, so I'm going to pre-fish it, so to speak. I'm going to mistreat it with a piece of Velcro here. This is in classic Scandinavian tube fly style. And what that really does, it just gives some volume to the fly. Okay, time for the wing. Lovely fiery brown piece of fox. And when you tie in your wing, as you tie in the first part, you actually start deciding how long the entire fly will be, because the upper part of the wing has to be a little bit longer than the lower part in order to create that taper. That is also an integral part of the Scandinavian tube fly style. Also, you want the lower part of the wing to have most of the volume. Then with my Velcro brush, I brush out all the underfur. That does you no good other than add bulk, which I'm not interested in. Now I just take a look to see how the taper is looking, because I want to start creating the taper already. And I just pull the middle fibers a little bit. And now, as you can see, I actually define the overall length of the fly. When it's done, it'll be about this long. And I think that's good. So I come over the fox hairs, check to see, I give them a little push with my thumb. I want to use at least part of the diameter of the tube. And now cut off as close as you dare. Aha! My varnish. I'm just going to use a small drop of varnish here, not so much to glue the hair to the shank, to the tube, but more to fuse the ends of the hair together and make sure that the tying thread doesn't slip off. You can use super glue, but I like varnish because super glue tends to dry and leave almost glass sharp edges, which will cut your tying thread. All right, a little bit of flash. I'm going to use some pearl here, and staying within the color theme, I'm also going to put in a few strands of gold flash. And just as I did with the pearl flash, I simply lift them up under the tying thread. Add a little bit of pressure, fold back, and secure all of them at once. Now I cut them off in different lengths. I think that looks good. Now, before I move to the upper wing, I'm going to put on the blue hackle. In this case, I'm going to use this dyed blue Amherst, which I think is very nice. I'm also going to use quite a long one to give it a little bit of a space style look and add more action to the fly. Now I tie this on the side of the tube, and with my hackle pliers I turn the hackle on top of where I tied in the wing, and I cover it up. It's a matter of taste, of course, how much hackle you want. That was a couple of turns. I think that looks good. And remember, it's a couple of turns of what you could almost call half a hackle. Cut off the remaining part. Now some of the hackle is up here in the wing where it really does no good. So I'm just going to part it in the middle. And now the last piece of hair for the wing. Just going to check the length. That looks good. I think it's a little bit too much. Cut that off close to the skin. And just as before, I comb out the underfur. There we go. Lay that over. Check the length. Check the taper. That looks good. Once again, come over with a loose turn, couple of turns more, just to make sure that everything sits the way it should. Couple of more turns. I can't really grab this and cut it at the same time, so I'm going to cut it with my scissors perpendicular to the tube and just use the very tip of the scissors. And as you do that, be careful not to cut the thread. That looks good. And once again, I am going to give it a small drop of varnish for the same reason as before, just to lock in the turns of thread. And just for good measure, I'm going to put in one more strand of pearl flash. Once again, I just lift it up under the thread and fold it back. Now I am going to use the Pro Jungle Cock. Very easy to work with. And I'll just have a look. That looks good. I'm tying them in almost full length. Not quite, but close. Before I tie that one in, I'll just measure it up against the first one. Check, length is good. Check that they sit. This one needs to come down a little bit. Now just with the edge of my scissors, I come in underneath and lift off that little bit of material left. I do the same on the other side. There we are. And that's actually the tying done. I just secure that with a single whip finish. As far as cone head goes, you could use a lot of different colors. The original obviously has a black head, so I'm going to stick with the black cone head. An orange might look good as well. Here, a small drop of CA glue, and then I push the cone backwards. Now there's a lot of room inside our cone heads, so it's not critical at all. It's actually quite easy to get room for everything. That's it. Fly done. I cut off leaving about 1 millimeter or 1.5 millimeters. And then with my lighter, I slowly melt a color, and this is actually what's keeping the cone head in place, not the super glue. There we are. A modern tubefly hair wing version of the classic Thunder and Lightning. I hope you like it. Thanks for watching.